Say the word virtue out loud to most people today and watch what happens to their face. It sounds old-fashioned, a little uptight, something you'd find stitched onto a pillow in your grandmother's house, next to a warning about idle hands. That reaction is almost entirely a translation accident, and once you understand what the word actually meant to the people who built an entire philosophy around it, the whole picture changes. This wasn't a philosophy about being polite. It was a philosophy that said one single thing. This one word is the only good in human life. Not health, not money, not survival, not comfort. One thing. That's an enormous claim. Today we're going to figure out exactly what that word meant, why the Stoics staked everything on it, and why getting it wrong is the single easiest way to misunderstand this entire philosophy. The English word virtue comes from the Latin virtus, which itself carried a flavor of manliness and martial strength. Not quite what we're after. But the word underneath all of it, the one the Greeks actually used, was arete. Arete doesn't mean moral tidiness. The closer, more honest translation is excellence, and not excellence in some abstract, spiritual sense. Excellence the way you'd use the word about a craftsman, an athlete, or a surgeon. A knife has arete when it cuts well. A horse has arete when it runs well. A human being, the Stoics argued, has arete when they reason well, judge well, and act well, when they're excellent at the specific job of being human. Notice what that reframe does immediately. Virtue sounds like something you achieve by restraining yourself, by not doing bad things. Excellence of character sounds like a skill you actively build, sharpen, and get better at over a lifetime. The same way a musician gets better at their instrument. One is passive, the other is a practice. This is the single most important correction to make before anything else in this topic makes sense. When a Stoic text says virtue, mentally substitute excellence, and half the confusion disappears. Here's the claim that makes Stoicism genuinely strange, if you actually sit with it instead of nodding past it. The Stoics held that virtue is the only good. Full stop. Not the most important good among several. The only one. Everything else, your health, your money, your reputation, your career, even whether you're alive or dead, gets filed under a separate category the Stoics called indifference. Not because those things don't matter at all in ordinary life. They obviously do, and the Stoics never pretended otherwise. But they don't count as good in the philosophical sense, because none of them guarantee a well-lived life, and none of them are fully within your control. Think about how radical this actually is. A wealthy, healthy person with a terrible character, someone cruel, cowardly, dishonest, is, by Stoic accounting, living worse than a poor, sick person with excellent character, because the good life was never about your circumstances. It was only ever about the quality of your judgment and action inside whatever circumstances you happen to have. This is why virtue, in the Stoic sense, was considered impossible to have too much of. You can have too much wealth in the sense that it corrupts you. You can't have too much excellence, because excellence just is the good. There's no version of too excellent. The Stoics didn't invent this next part from scratch. They inherited a framework that traces back through Plato to Socrates. Virtue, as a single overarching excellence, gets broken into 4 traditional components. Understanding each one properly clears up most of the remaining confusion. Wisdom. The Greek is phronesis, practical wisdom, not book learning. This is the skill of correctly sorting what's actually good, actually bad, and actually indifferent. Most human suffering, in the Stoic view, comes from getting this sorting wrong, treating an indifferent thing, money, a promotion, someone's opinion of you, as if it were the actual good, and organizing your whole life around chasing it. Courage, not the absence of fear. The Stoics were explicit about this. Courage is staying steady and reasoned while afraid, not eliminating the fear first. It splits into things like endurance, confidence, and simply not collapsing when things get hard. A soldier who feels no fear isn't courageous, he's just numb. A soldier who feels the fear completely and acts well anyway is the actual target. Temperance, moderation, self-command, doing things in the right amount, neither too much nor too little. This one gets flattened into self-denial in the popular imagination, but that's not quite right either. It's closer to precision than restriction, responding to a situation with exactly the right measure, not the maximum amount of restraint you can manage. Justice, the one virtue explicitly aimed outward, at other people, rather than at your own internal state. Treating others with fairness and dignity, doing right by your community, especially. This is the important part, especially when times are difficult and it would be easier not to. Here's the detail worth sitting with. These four aren't separate boxes to check off independently. They reinforce each other, almost like a flywheel. Wisdom without courage just produces someone who knows the right thing and does it anyway out of fear. Courage without wisdom produces recklessness dressed up as bravery. Justice without temperance can curdle into self-righteous success. The Stoics saw virtue as one unified excellence of character, with these four as different angles on the same underlying thing, not four separate achievements. If you've watched the other videos in this series, this is the piece that ties them all together, and I want to be direct about that connection, because it's easy to treat each of these ideas as its own separate life hack. The dichotomy of control tells you to focus your energy only on what's yours. Virtue is the content of what's yours, your judgment, your character, your response. Amor Fati tells you to love your fate exactly as it happened. Virtue is what you're supposed to build with that fate, regardless of whether it was kind to you. Memento mori and negative visualization both use loss and mortality to sharpen your priorities. And virtue is the thing they're sharpening your priorities toward. None of those techniques are the destination. They're all just methods for protecting and building the one thing the Stoics actually cared about achieving. This is also why Stoicism isn't, at bottom, primarily a productivity system or an anxiety management toolkit, even though it gets marketed that way constantly now. Those are side effects. The actual target, underneath all of it, was always become excellent. Everything else was in service of that one goal. Two misreadings show up constantly in how this gets discussed now, and both are worth naming directly. The first, mistaking virtue for niceness or rule following. Modern usage has flattened virtuous into something like well-behaved, someone who doesn't curse, doesn't drink, follows social rules cleanly. That's not what the Stoics were describing. Their version is closer to competence under pressure, the skillful, reasoned handling of whatever situation actually confronts you, which sometimes requires being blunt, taking a risk, or standing against a crowd. A person who's simply polite and rule-abiding but folds the moment something actually costs them isn't displaying Stoic virtue. They're displaying convenience. The second, mistaking virtue for indifference to outcomes. Because the Stoics called everything except virtue indifferent, people sometimes assume this means Stoics were supposed to feel nothing about their health, relationships, or circumstances. Total emotional flatness. That's a real distortion. The whole point of building excellent judgment and character is to engage more skillfully with the world, not to disengage from it. The goal was never numbness. It was competence, being good in the face of hard things, not merely unbothered by them. There's something almost inconvenient about this idea, which might be exactly why it's worth taking seriously. It doesn't let you outsource the good life to your circumstances. You can't achieve it by getting the right job, the right relationship, the right diagnosis results. It only ever comes from one place: how well you're reasoning and how well you're acting right now with whatever you've actually been given. That's a harder standard than most modern self-improvement offers you, because there's no external finish line to cross. But it's also the only standard that can't be taken away from you by bad luck, a bad diagnosis, or someone else's decision. Everything else the Stoics called indifferent, precisely because it can be lost. This is the one thing that can't be.